Tykarindom The Histories. A backstory guide to the Tykarindom, Rise of the Forever World Lord, Temptations, and Extraterrestrial Screenplays. Copyright 2017 to 2020, 3rd edition, Dr. Larry E. Johnson.
Powerful, supernatural, through the fires, come a brighter me, yeah.
Sources from the Archives of Alondria. AA6, PGW 990, T7. Book 1, stanzas 1 through 6. 1. At the end of the Third Age, after the battlements of Haven had fallen, Eldane the elf concealed Agia the Supernaturalite's body in a glass coffin. He fled with it to Titan, the largest moon in the terrestrial nature. 2. Now far north of the land of Urban, which included the city of Urban, the new empire and its capital Haven, and the dwarf kingdom of Schwarzkopf, there stretched the lands of the Dragon King himself, Ubuland. 3. Now Ubuland included the Marsh of the Dead, which Almagon punished the Lord Dragon with, by having all the sentients of Irten bury their separated there. And it was these separated that Lord Dragon used in hatred, inspired revenge to form the dark magic of the Horenrai. 4. There is also the flatlands of Ubuplatz, and these mostly stretched east, from Serpentine Mountain to the Crystal Sea west. 5. Now, north and west of Mount Serpentine, off the coast, is the dim island of Forever World. Although this island is not really Forever World, but the threshold of it, like Aeon is the threshold of time, and many an elven scholar have argued over the nature of this island. One thing all agreed on: there was a manifestation of the mirror of magic there. For while there was the one tree, there were multiple mirrors of magic, or nature portals, as they called them. 4 nature portals were known to the elves: that which was in Queensland, that which was in the Celestial Oasis, that which is in Urban, called the Bronze Portal, and the one in Forever World. 6. There was an argument among the elves as to which of these manifestations represented the act of Amatorial, of whom legend said perched the Mirror of Magic beyond Lord Dragon's reach at the end of the First Age. From the Elven Scrolls in the Library of Alondria, edited by Sophia the Tyonian.
Powerful, supernatural, through the fires, come a brighter me, yeah.
Book 2, stanzas 1 through 7. 1. Now in the land of Urban, 3 kingdoms held sway at one time or another. First, after the Aeon, there arose a kingdom of dwarfs. They settled in southern Urban, and built their cities in a valley between the twin mountains, where also they constructed their chief capital, called Schwarzkopf. 2. The last of their rulers was known as King Song. The dwarf population was decimated during the Great War, and unable to maintain their kingdom, they gave way to a new warlike peoples, called Earthlings of Urban. 3. Now Earthlings were the lowest on the social ladder, for they were considered mere landers, having no visible manifestation of the aura. In addition, they got this appellation from those who argued there was no record of these people from the councils of Almagon. So it was argued these people evolved out of the soil of Irten. 4. So all the other sentients treated Earthlings as if mere dust, unworthy to share in the great ecumenical councils, of which there had been 7 from the time of the Great War, which issued the 7 great supernatural decrees. 5. The Earthlings called their capital Coney Island, a small borough of their great commercial center Urban. And these ruled all Urban until the defeat of the Earthling kings. The throne lay vacant long after the Great War. 6. When time passed well into the Third Age, a new kingdom arose, seizing the vacant throne of Urban, and these were said to be the offspring of Honor and Gunai, and they called themselves the Noonians. 7. The Noonians took what was of value from the demoralized earthlings of Urban, and the Noonians built a mighty castle in northern Urban, closer to the Crystal Sea, and they called their capital Haven. Their empire devoured all of Urban, Liberty Island, a western part of Misty Island, even to the tip of the island kingdom by the South Sea. And the descendants of Honor and Gunai then came to rule the new empire. From the Archives of Elandria, compiled and edited by Aldane the Elf.
Powerful, supernatural, through the fires, come on bright on me, yeah.
Book 3, stanzas 1 to 3. 1. The way to the celestial halls of Hellarcons is the silk weave passage. It is beyond Lake Eldalore, beyond the misty island, between Mount Hylor and Crystal Mountain. The passage is the way to the haunted caverns of Crystal Mountain. 2. The caverns of Crystal Mountain are haunted by the 7 forest songs of despair at the bottom of these mountains, according to the old legends. 3. Samandanesia is said to have hid herself in the caverns of Crystal Mountain while pregnant with Agia the Supernaturalite. She passed through, making her way to the golden halls of Hellarcons, where the Supernaturalite was said to be born. Edited from scroll fragments found at the Library of Elandria by Aldane the Elf.
Powerful, supernatural, through the fires, come on bright on me, yeah.
Book 4, stanzas 1 through 2. 1. Now among the Horanrai there existed a ruler of the Horanrai as underlord to Busangalore, and the Hellarcons gave him a name, which no one uttered without dread, for this Horanrai possessed a power most intrusive to the mind. 2. The fallen Hellarcons of Reitgothoch called him Troim Tortur, invader, destroyer of dreams. Edited from scroll fragments found at the Library of Elandria by Sophia the Tyonian.
Powerful, supernatural, through the fires, come on bright on me, yeah.
Book 5, stanzas 1 through 6. 1. After the 1000th year of the First Age, and the 600th year of lost days. 2. In the 12th month and 13th of starry nights, when the eyes of the immortal mortals again opened, and after the wonder mist Irten scoured. 3. There came the great eagle soaring from the golden halls of Hellarcom's story. 4. Agia the Supernaturalite to the gates of magic, Samandanesa's offspring, to an elf's hands. 5. Then all knew the prophecy was true. There would come a one from the queen of the land, from Wundermist, a mysterious daughter. 6. She would be an ornament of sacred fire, a symbol of ire, a messenger of life, or an oracle dire. Found in the Archives of Elandria, in records of the Council of Irten, and edited by Aldane the Elf. Book 6, stanza 1. 1. Sacred fire wore the robes of the 7 eons. This whole fragment was found at the Library of Elandria, translated by Aldane the Elf.
Powerful, supernatural, through the fires, come on bright on me, yeah.
Book 7, stanzas 1 through 2. 1. Almagon made the one tree, and filled it with fruit of red and green. Then he rooted it in a sacred land, and surrounded the land with sea. 2. There Amatoriel built his great tower, and the Tower of Liberty fell to Lord Dragon's magic, and Almagon moved the one tree to Tykarindom, outside the village of Irton. Edited from scroll fragments found at the Library of Elandria by Aldane the Elf.
Powerful, supernatural, through the fires, come on bright on me.
Book 8, stanzas 1 through 2. 1. Agia continued along the avenue of the ancient village until she came to a small round mound in the center, with roads leading to it from 4 directions. 2. And in that center of the ancient village, at the apex of the tiny hill, stood a huge oak tree throne, and on it fluctuated one called Theophany. Archives of Elandria, translated and edited by Sophia the Tyonian.
Powerful, supernatural, through the fires, come on bright on me.
Book 9, stanzas 1 through 7. 1. Darkness of death and latent sorrows was his wail. No sustenance softened his tale. 2. No light ever to him came. 3. No one rejoiced at his name. 4. And all the might of all the elves could not take away his wish of non-existence. 5. Almagon had no pity for the toll house lord, or so they say. 6. Like the twins born in the womb, one to life and one to doom. 7. The toll house lord lived in the shadows, his only joy the Tyonians' greatest hours of sorrow. Archives of Elandria, in the records of the Council of Irton, edited by Aldane the Elf. Book 10, stanzas 1 through 7. 1. After the Great War, when the immortal mortals awoke from immortal sleep, the Edens sealed the celestial oasis. 2. These occurred in response to the decision of the Great Council of Tempjoblet, which was held after the Great War, at the end of the First Age, and immediately after all had awoken from the immortal mortal sleep, who had fallen victim to the wunder dust of Almagon, which he spread to stop the Great War. 3. Present at the Great Council of Tempjoblet were Almagon and the Hellarcons, all the lords, even Lord Dragon, Samandaniza, and Amatorial. 4. Also all the terrestrial worlds came, and all the extraterrestrials seemed to be present, but only to those who had the revelation of them, and every ruling sentient. 5. And there was a boundary set. 6. Guardian lords spoke a supernatural decree. 7. And all these things the elves wrote down as guided by sacred fire, as an eternal memorial. Edited from scroll fragments found at the Library of Elandria by Aldane the Elf. Book 11, stanzas 1 through 3. 1. Sacred Island, known as Liberty Island of the Urbanites, came to be in the Second Age, for it did not exist during the Aeon, as the Hellarcons had, and the Edens and the Angels. 2. And those like the Hellarcons who had become the lords, such as Samandaniza and Amatorial, and it was not in any of the Urbanite records in the First Age. 3. But the sacred island was the work of Amatorial after Troyan Thothar had walked in his dreams. Archives of Elandria, from the records of the Council of Irton, edited by Aldane the Elf.
Powerful, supernatural, through the fires, come on bright on me.
Book 12, stanzas 1 through 3. 1. There came to be the wound of Lord Dragon in this fashion. 2. When Samandaniza conceived the wunder of Agia within, the wound of Lord Dragon too was born. 3. It clothed the moon in its own night, and all the land wondered prophetic amazement at what heralded the conception of this impossible child. Edited from scroll fragments found at the Library of Elandria, edited by Aldane the Elf. Book 13, stanzas 1 to 2. 1. Great with child, Samandinisa met the armies of Lord Dragon on the hill of Katomtukos, above the valley of Tu Magikos. 2. At the end of the First Age, after Vunder had subdued the Great War, Lord Samandinisa awoke from her immortal slumber, and there appeared before her, out of the blue mist, the mirror of magic, and she remembered she had given birth to the child, the Agia. So she fled from the dominion of magic, and came to the mountains of Queensland. There she met with her beloved, and it was said, the mist of that place took the lords, who were no more seen in the land. Editor's note: these two fragments were found at the Library of Alandria. Some elf scholars dispute the location of the final battle of the Great War, and some scholars, elves, earthlings, and Tyonians, deny the genuineness of verse 2 of this fragment, declaring that the sense of the passages are uneven, but seem to represent a break and an insertion by some scribe. These scholars go on to argue the mirror of magic did not appear out of the blue mist, but was fashioned by Amatorial the Magister Lord. The dwarf scholars of Schwarzkopf assert a third argument, that the mirror of magic is the work of Lord Dragon, citing the ancient poem of Stephen the Riddlewiser, while others assert the mirror of magic is a Vunder of Almagan. Eldane the Elf. Book 14, stanzas 1 through 3. 1. Now the natures most near that of the supernatural are these: Aeon, the celestial kingdom, Tykarindom, Liberty Island, and Queensland. 2. And the existences that came to be known as the realm of magic after the Aeon are these: Uboplatz, part of which was Ubaland, where the marshes of the separated were planted by Almagan. 3. Forever World, Urban, Misty Island, Mars Island, named after those few elves who took part in the Great War, and the Island Kingdom. From the Chronicles of Stephen the Riddlewiser, which he recorded in the years of the Boundary of Peace, just before the start of the Second Age, found in the halls of Hellarcons by Agia the Supernaturalite, and edited here by Sophia the Tyonian. Book 15, stanzas 1 through 6. 1. When the high sun of the Third Age shone, and the first things of Agia the Supernaturalite had faded into legend. 2. Came Honor and Gunai. 3. And they, husband and wife, were the rulers of New. 4. They made a pact with the Tribune of Power to preserve their rule over Urban forever, to their children, and their children, giving no thought to the sway of magic. 5. And they agreed to build a castle upon the land, south and east of Lord Dragon's throne, and west of the Crystal Sea. 6. And they called the castle capital of their kingdom Haven, home of the new empire. From the diary of Sophia the Tyonian, found in the archives of Alandria, from the Fifth Age, edited by Eldane the Elf.
Powerful, supernatural, through the fires, come and brighten me, yeah.
Book 16, stanzas 1 through 3. 1. Tykarindom lie way to the east of Urban, beyond the Misty Island, and the Island Kingdom. 2. The Tyonians, or Ty people as they came to be called, were feared and scorned by all other Eartonians, because they preserved evidence of a supernature in their aura. 3. And Lord Dragon hated the Ty people most of all, for they were of the nature of Samandinisa and Amatorial, prefiguring the coming of the Supernaturalite. So it is written in Elven Scrolls of Titan, found in the archives of Alandria, edited by Eldane the Elf. Book 17, stanzas 1 through 6. 1. At the edge of the dusk of Aeon, war broke out and spread to the one forest in the 900th year of the First Age. 2. Samandinisa had promised aid to the forest guards, but when Amatorial was trapped in the Corridor of Dreams by Troimthother, Lord Dragon sought revenge against the forest guard and the one forest. 3. The Lord Dragon did scorch the one forest by his magic. 4. He did dissolve all the forest guards, save one of silver ire. 5. For Almagan had pity on the forest guard, and all the landers of Irten, the Hellarcons, the Martians, the nymphs, the elves and dwarfs, the earthlings, and all those who fought so fiercely and heroically. 6. Then Almagan took counsel, and, through Samandaniza, sprung upon Irten's nature the Wunderdust. Edited from scroll fragments found at the Library of Alandria, by Aldane the Elf. Book 18, stanzas 1 through 3. 1. Irten had many names. Solacor, by the elves of the planet Mars, Middeldorf, by the elves of the Mars continent, Tykarindom by the Tyonians, Celestial Kingdom by the Edens, Queensland by the kinsmen of Ka'ai, Urban by the Urbanites, Hellarconrum by the lords of Reitgodhoch, who came to mediate on love or physically take wives from among earthlings, Nu by the Nunians, and Ubuland by the Horanrai. 2. But the extraterrestrials called Irten Makusia. 3. These and other countless names did the elves record, which reflected the thoughts of the species, who held a common usia. So it is written in elven scrolls of Titan, found in the archives of Alandria, edited by Aldane the Elf. Book 19, stanzas 1 through 17. 1. Most gracious Anastasia. 2. Greetings from Essence Hall of Titan. I have arrived safely with Agia the Supernaturalite. 3. Graceful greetings and peace to all your lordly household. 4. I have searched most diligently to fulfill your request for an accurate map of our times, and I regret to report one has not been drawn up for the Third Age. 5. In the first year of the Second Age, when the boundary of peace was enshrined by the Mirror of Magic and the supernatural decree of the Council of Temp Jobele. 6. There was for the first time a map of the natures, drawn up by the Earthling Stephen the Riddlewiser. 7. It became the unfortunate standard for many of the natures, and many beings of Almagan's making are in darkness about the multiple natures that exist. 8. Our maps are now limited to the terrestrial natures, and the knowledge of the extraterrestrial natures are hard to come by. For example, what are the contours of Aeon? 9. I have yet to run across a scholarly elf who is possessed of the knowledge of the cartography of Aeon. 10. We have been trying to correct the metaphysical mistake ever since, but Lord Dragon has opposed our efforts with horrific and nature-blinding magic. 11. The Landers have violently insisted that the Second Age map, which we alone possess, is sacred and accurate. Therefore, we have been forced to reproduce it with each generation. 12. Lacking as it is of the other natures. 13. I do believe a more accurate map of the existing essences or natures is available in the archives of Alandria at Eldam. 14. I will strive to obtain this elusive cartography. 15. The present standard map of Riddlewiser is a great reproduction of Irtonian or terrestrial natures, both as to location and place, but as an accurate representation of other existing natures, it falls far short. 16. With humble blessings, your administering elf, Aldane. 17. AA3, PGW 955, T1. Archives of Alandria, a letter of Aldane the Elf to Anastasia the Tyonian, edited by Sophia the Tyonian.
Powerful, supernatural, through the fires, come and brighten me.
Book 20, stanzas 1 through 12. 1. Now magic has a special power. 2. The ability to appear supernatural by doing seemingly benevolent acts. 3. Whereas the supernatural can never have the same advantage of wishing to appear magical by doing enchanted acts, without it ceasing to be of the first essence. 4. For the supernatural's heart narrative must of its nature be without composition. 5. On the other hand, magic's narrative can be nothing but enchantment of the natures. 6. For by itself magic has no existence, being a usurpation of the supernatural, and in its very being lies the condition of its heart. 7. Therefore, it is said, Almagan looked on his beings' hearts found deep in the certainty of their narrative, not the individuality of their acts. 8. Legend held that one terrestrial had reached such a level of magic that he taught Eartonians the potion of gossip, and by it disguised the heart narrative of many innocent terrestrials. 9. For he delighted in the destructive power of magic, and he was given the name Unfaithful. 10. By the magic of manufactured narratives, he became known as Storyteller. The one name showed his evil, and the other the enchantment of his tales. 11. He loved the highest peaks, and sometimes appeared by watery places of the island kingdom. It was said that Morwedge the sorceress feared him, for even with her sorcery, she found it hard to discern him. 12. And the lady wizard pleaded with Almagan, and from him obtained a special wonder mist that surrounded her island to detect Unfaithful, and her island became known as Misty Island. From the Chronicles of Stephen the Riddlewiser, edited by Aldane the Elf, found in the archives of Alandria of the First Age. Book 21, stanzas 1 through 8. 1. The elven scholars of Alandria spoke of the ages in this fashion. 2. Aeon, the First Age, the immortal mortal sleep, the Second Age, the Third Age, the Fourth Age, the Restoration, the Fifth Age. 3. We are in the dusk of the Sixth Age. 4. And each age, except Aeon and the immortal mortal sleep, are counted like this: 6,000 days of 6,000 days of years, each day 1,000 years. 5. Now some elves of wisdom say it is wrong to count Aeon as an age, for they say it is countless and ageless, as has been learned from the extraterrestrials, who say Aeon continues. 6. Other elves argue Aeon has a beginning, and seemingly an end with the start of the First Age, that they cannot simply rely on a race of beings outside their nature, so it is an age although from its beginning it is countless and ageless. 7. Still, a third group of elven scholars say that the immortal sleep to end the Great War should not be counted as an age, for it is not countless and ageless, but its duration unknowable, so that even if the beginning and an end are known, its duration is shrouded in mystery. For when elves started to use the chronological signature Second Age is unknown with certainty, though it is found scratched on cave walls and on the backs of turtle shells. 8. A last group of elven scholars say there is also Celestial Age, which is ridiculed as myth by the majority of elven scholars. Yet many families homeschooled their tiny elves about the Celestial Age, which speaks of ages as foolishness and mere inventions of the elves. They who hold such unschooled opinions as Almagan is ageless, and so are his creatures, and that all things endless are from Almagan's unbeginning, and that all we do is exchange natures, passing through the one tree in an unbroken line of being. In the archives of Alandria, a lost fragment from the Chronicles of Stephen the Riddlewiser, edited by Aldane the Elf, the fragment found in the records of the Council of Earton of the Third Age. Book 22, stanza 1. 1. Then Aldane the Elf took newly fostered Agia aside, in a day before the dove, and at the threshold of Anastasia, he whispered into her ears, "It is written, you are the Supernaturalite. To one you are the aura of death leading to death, and to the other the aura of life leading to life." Edited from scroll fragments found at the Library of Alandria, edited by Sophia the Tyonian. Book 23, stanzas 1 through 4. 1. The elves also knew that there were as many lords as there were worlds. 2. Every world had a lord. 3. Their Lord Dragon was unique among all the lords. He alone among the lordly fashioned transited the multiple natures without Almagan's reaction. 4. Lord Dragon existed in all the worlds and no worlds. Irten by itself did he dare to claim, an assertion he took from the Guardian Lord's fame. Edited from scroll fragments found at the Library of Elandria, edited by Aldane the Elf. Book 24, stanzas 1 through 3. 1. Cruel and vain, Lord Dragon built a castle beyond the gates of Hellarcon. 2. There the ancient lord brooded in his time, and he waited for the ancient summons to deliver Samandinisa into his grasps. 3. He was not disappointed. Edited from scroll fragments found at the Library of Elandria, edited by Aldane the Elf. Book 25, stanzas 1 through 6. 1. Amatorial perched the mirror of magic high beyond the reach of Lord Dragon. 2. He set before it the forest guard. 3. Then he sealed it for countless thousand years, ending the first age. 4. It was just before then that Samandinisa brought forth a wondrous child. 5. The child was called Agia the Supernaturalite. 6. Agia was brought to a family of Tykarindom, in the shadow of the one tree. Then the realm of Tykarindom wondered and trembled at what all this could mean. In the archive of Elandria, a recovered fragment of Stephen the Riddlewiser's chronicles, by Aldane the Elf, further edited by Sophia the Tyonian. Book 26, stanzas 1 through 3. 1. Now Mars Island is a dwelling of elves. Surrounded by the crystal West Sea and lying west of Queensland, it exists in the shadow of Lord Dragon's domains north of Ubelplatz. 2. Some claim Eldalor the Elf made a wicked dark oath with Lord Dragon, like unto the dark oath made between the Tyonians and the Tribune of Power, and that is the reason Mars Island survives in a realm shrouded in the black mist. 3. It is this unspoken fear which taints the elves of the Third Age. The presence of Aldane the Elf, and the existence of the Library of Elandria, with all the historical and artistic works of Irten there, are the only mysterious lights, which most Irtonians dared to trust from beyond the sea. A fragment found in the archives of Elandria, edited by Sophia the Tyonian in the Fifth Age.
Powerful, supernatural, through the fires, come a bride of me.
Book 26, stanza 1. 1. Generations upon generations ago, in a time beyond memory, Lord Samandinisa battled and banished Lord Dragon from Irten. Author unknown, translated and edited from scroll fragments found at the Library of Elandria by Aldane the Elf. Book 27, stanzas 1 through 7. 1. So Lord Dragon was filled with wrath. 2. He snatched the elven scrolls from Morwedge Sorceress and demanded of her. 3. Now cause a mist to film their eyes, and they may not read this scroll 851 to pierce the mirror of magic, for it is a truth that must be a lie. 4. And he seized Morwedge Sorceress's power for his own, and he obscured the elven script, by her hand he shadowed it. 5. All the lords bowed to him, because he took the power to mystify the supernature of the Guardian Lord. 6. And he went to the Crystal Mountain, and waited for the birth of Agia the Supernaturalite. 7. For at that time he could not discern where Samandinisa hid herself. Author unknown, edited from scroll fragments found at the Library of Elandria, by Aldane the Elf. Book 28, stanzas 1 through 5. 1. When the dark cloud of immortal sleep had encased Irten. 2. Almagan's eyes filled with tears. 3. And the droplet that fell became the kinsfolk of Ka'ai. 4. He set them apart in Queensland. 5. Then he swore these would hold the seed to the Mirror of Magic by the slopes of Crystal Mountain. Author unknown. Edited from scroll fragments found at the Library of Alandria. Edited by Sophia the Tyonian. Book 29, Stanza 1. 1. When Almagan had formed Samandanisa by the hand of Guardian Lord, and by him also shaped Lord Dragon, Almagan commanded from the land of Guardian Lord the manifestation of Amatorial, the Magister Father of Agia the Supernaturalite. Author unknown. Edited from scroll fragments found at the Library of Alandria by Aldane the Elf. Book 30, Stanza 1. 1. Sailor warned them, beware Morwedge sorceress, who guards the great lake of Eldalore. She is too the bearer of the 8 forest songs of despair, who dwells in swirls of misty island. And beware. Author unknown. Edited from scroll fragments found at the Library of Alandria by Aldane the Elf. Book 31, stanzas 1 through 8. 1. Samandanisa descended into the bowels of Crystal Mountain. 2. And at that time she was afraid, great with the child of promise. 3. She could hear the fierce battles of the great war in all Irten, knowing her beloved, Amatorial, struggled above. 4. In despair, she bowed down under the stalactites. Let me die, O Almagan, and the child with me, for what is victory? This life is limited and vain. 5. Then a great light shone around her, and she saw the 7 robes of sacred fire. 6. He spoke to her, saying, Why do you fill your heart with falsehood, Samandanisa? 7. Did I not say, Behold, I make all things new? I did not say, Behold, I make all things different. From there, sacred fire left Samandanisa. 8. So she arose, took her sword, and continued to flee toward Hellarcons, as if Angel had filled her aura with new power. From the Chronicles of Stephen the Riddlewiser, edited by Aldane the Elf, found in the archives of Alandria of the First Age.
Powerful, supernatural, through the fires, come on bright on me.
Book 32, stanzas 1 through 5. 1. Now Eldalore the Elf wrote of the Great War, and his work is considered the distinctive work of that age. For his work is massive, and focused merely on the Great War. 2. The work has since only come down to the 3rd and 4th Age in fragments. 3. I myself have examined some of these fragments, and it is certain Eldalore recorded the legend of the Nevnamonians in that monumental work. 4. He records that the Nevnamonians aided Lord Samandanisa in defeating Lord Dragon at the Battle of Tecumtecos above the valley of Tumagicos. 5. But he also makes a curious reference to the Mirror of Magic and the refusal of the Nevnamonians to take part in the Great Council after the Great War, because of a dispute over the Mirror of Magic. Found in the archives of Alandria, excerpted from a letter of Aldane the Elf to Anastasia, foster mother of Agia the Supernaturalite, edited by Sophia the Tyonian in the 4th Age. Book 33, stanzas 1 through 2. 1. Now these are the peoples of the terrestrial order, who inhabited Irten in the First Age before the birth of the Agia the Supernaturalite: the Equations, the dwarfs, the earthlings, also known as the landers, the elves, the Horenhai, who are the magic of Lord Dragon, and the Irtonians, being the first peoples of Irten, who were also known as the Blonde Ones, who were related to the Tyonians by blood. 2. Then finally there are the Martians, who migrated to Irten towards the end of the First Age and the Great War, from among whom are the elves. Found in the archive of Alandria, This fragment from Tykarindom Chronicles by Eldalor the Elf. Edited by Sophia the Tyonian. Book 34, stanzas 1 through 4. 1. Some say, in a time before the Great War, and before the mirror of magic, there once lived a race of beings who called themselves the Sailors, for as yet the oceans dominated Irton, from Mars Island to the furthest east wind, into the hearth of Queensland. 2. In this world of high waves and chaos, Lord Dragon brooded his expulsion from the Council of the Lords, Reitgothoch and the Sea of Glass. 3. The sailors passed on the tale that when Lord Dragon discovered the Leviathan and discerned Leviathan possessed the telling shell, he murdered Leviathan. Then with magic shaped by the sacred fire, he dried up the oceans to steal the telling shell. 4. For he had heard of prophecy of the Supernaturalite, and he determined to know all of it. Editor's note. From Tykarindom Chronicles. This fragment was found in the so-called Book of Legends, said to be composed by Stephen the Riddlewiser in the First Age. Some dwarf scholars argue the tale is from the Aeon, and the Riddlewiser is not the author, but an Eden composed it. Such is a fanciful and preposterous conclusion. The earliest I would date it is the Second Age, and as to authorship, the document itself names Eldalor the Elf as the author. I see no reason to doubt it, for Eldalor often names himself in his works. But not all of our wisest scholars agree with me. They contend the writing is not Eldalor's as compared to his agreed corpus. They conclude the author is unknown, saying it is at most pseudo-Eldalor, and date the work to the late part of the Second Age, or early part of the Third Age. The Library of Elandria, Fourth Age, Eldane the Elf. Book 35, stanzas 1 through 7. 1. There was one called Angel, who walked among the 7 flames of sight in the shadow of sacred fire. 2. For Eldalor the Elf, it is said, before he went mad in search of Engelram, wrote of Angel. 3. But none of the elf scholars accepted what they surmised were the more fantastic tales written down by the hapless elf, whose work, The Great War, has been passed down to us in very large fragments, and which became the primary source for the First Age conflict. 4. He wrote of the founding of the Mirror of Magic, too. 5. And it is from him that hints of the Aeon are given, though references are mysterious and maddening. 6. Almost all the scholars agreed Eldalor the Elf had grown insane, blinded in search of Angel, and a place he called Engelram. 7. Some dwarf scholars pose the intriguing proposition that Hellarcon, between the twin peaks of the Crystal Mountains, is the place for which Eldalor sought, because Agia the Supernaturalite is said to be born there. Eldane the Elf, the 12 Lords, and the Fate of Prince Thuckman II, Fourth Age. Edited by Sophia the Tyonian. Book 36, stanzas 1 through 8. 1. Tykarindom is the territory of the Tyonians. 2. It is still called Tykarindom, although it is filled with earthlings. 3. It lies far to the west of Urban, beyond Misty Island and the Island Kingdom. 4. The Earthlings, also known as the Blonde Ones, are the only Irtonians with whom Ty people have any dealings. By all others, Tyonians are feared and scorned. They bear the blame of the Great War, and for many, they bear the curse of the Vunder still. 5. For the vast majority of the Irtonians. 6. It seems only right that only 2 Ty families survived the immortal mortal slumber, which ended the Great War. Lord Samandinisa was one. Her Ty-mate, the Magister Lord Amatorial, was another, and their offspring, Agia, called the Supernaturalite. 7. Anastasia, foster mother of Agia, is said to be the other surviving Tyonian. Although there is much dispute as to her actual nature, her daughter is Sophia the Tyonian. 8. Now sometimes Earthlings are said to be Tyonians, but few accept the claim, For earthlings do not bear the cures of the Wonder. By Aldane the Elf, the 12 Lords and the Fate Prince Thukman II, 4th Age, edited by Sophia the Tyonian.
Powerful, supernatural, through the fires, come a brighter me.
Book 37, stanzas 1 through 10. AA1 T12. 1. Agia the Supernaturalite had a recurring dream, and in her dream she saw her father, Amatorial. 2. Then she heard the voice of voices. 3. Look to the mirror of magic. 4. And her father, Amatorial, questioned, And what is this mirror? 5. The voice of all voices exclaimed, It is the gate to every place, the mystery of every heart. 6. It is the place of the coming vortex, the harmony of enchantment, the bane of wonder. 7. It is the boundary of peace. 8. It is the choice of being, beyond eon, at the doorstep of wonder.